Synopsis. Starting at the pool, the guys have seemed to have developed boring couple syndrome, and decide they all need a break from one another. Although they all end up going to the same places anyway, leading to them going to the studio, where Gustavo basically says the same thing. They all split up one more time, but I don't think they know the meaning of the word. To make things a little easier, they all decide to tell each other where they're going. Kendall gets the pool. James is trying to find a second job in acting. Logan's attending a lecture, and Carlos realizes he lost his helmet. And he's gonna look for it with the help of his dad. Kendall spies on Joe, and Katie finally reveals her real name.
Hey, Joe!
What? Oh, wait. Kendall asks Joe if she wants to hang out, and he clarifies he wants to be just friends, but I think we all know his true intentions. She agrees to take him to the gym, and utterly beats the crap out of him. I love her. Camille greets James in the lobby, and she decides to give him acting advice to help him on his quest. Logan tries to attend the lecture, but is stopped by a security guard who says it's an all-girls school and he is not allowed. Do those even still exist? Apparently yes, which is the stupidest thing I've learned in recent memory. The security guard beats him with a cardboard cutout, and we cut back to Joe and Kendall, sharing a smoothie. And we see that Kendall really doesn't understand boundaries. Back with Carlos and his dad, however, they come to the conclusion that his helmet must have been stolen. And we see Mr. Garcia has the habit of taking things way too far. Back with James, though, he's auditioning for Wizards of Waverly Place, or, you know, a Nickelodeon equivalent. James tries to method act, but gets stuffed in a vending machine as a result. Logan gives Kendall's mom the impression that he's coming out.
Man, I wish it was a girl.
God, Mrs. Knight, be more supportive of the LGBT community. All jokes aside, she decides to help him out, and maybe more supportive than I first realized. Meanwhile, Carlos and his dad ask Mr. Bitters about his helmet, hoping to get to the bottom of the mystery. They play good cop, bad cop, and learn the culprit must be Mr. Bitters himself. Kendall continues to show his lack of boundaries, and Joe lets it slip to Katie that she actually doesn't have a boyfriend, leading to Katie revealing this to Kendall. And both of them having the understanding that now he has to win her over. Sibling power. Kendall has apparently never heard of subtlety because he lays it on pretty thick, but somehow Joe doesn't catch on, and says her boyfriend is coming to visit today. James and Camille are at the audition and she blows up the interview. Okay. James doesn't quite nail the speaking part, but definitely has a career as a model. Mrs. Knight helps Logan masquerade as J.K. Rowling's worst fear, and we transition to Carlos and his dad torturing Mr. Bitters, where we learn there's been a stealing spree, and the only culprit left is Buddha Bob. Was this the first time his name was said too? Camille and James both get a call from the producer, and while Camille doesn't get the part, James is hired as the warlock with great abs. But he lies so that he can help Camille feel better. Back with Logan, he lets slip that he finds the speaker beautiful. Hey, don't act so weird, women can like women. She begins to speak, and Logan learns to never meet your heroes. Logan speaks up and is laughed at by everybody. To prove a point, Logan removes his wig, but just ends up getting attacked by all the girls. Joe introduces Kendall to her boyfriend, but Kendall quickly calls her out on it being an act. They squabble, and just when it seems like they're not going to have anything to do with each other from this point forward, they make plans to go on a movie date. Ah yes, teen romance. Now that every other plotline's wrapped up, we circle back around to Carlos and his dad, who... yeah, he could have just asked. Turns out Buddha Bob isn't the thief either, as it seems Lightning has made himself a sick pad, with tons of bitches. That's the word for female dogs, don't demonetize me, YouTube. All the guys try to figure out who should tell their story first, but...
Logan goes first.
They all rush to Logan's aid and...
She's fine, she's fine.
BTR trans allies confirmed. Thoughts? This episode was pretty great, all things considered. Nothing too special, though. While it was an interesting concept to see them all split apart instead of sticking together like they usually do, and I definitely don't feel the opportunity was squandered. There are just minor things that just don't sit right with me about this episode. Like Kendall's ignorance of boundaries, the weird misogyny in Logan's story, and how James's story didn't really go anywhere after he rejected the role. Granted, based on how this episode was written, none of these things are outright harmful, and can even lead to some genuine good lessons, like how James cares more about his friends than his career, or how Logan stands up for what's right even when everyone makes fun of him for it. Kendall's story is probably the biggest hiccup though, and all it would take to change this is for Kendall to learn that Joe is single earlier in the episode. If he knows she's single, he's still advancing on her without consent, but he's not actively trying to split up a couple. It personally didn't bother me though, so platinum record. Trivia. The math professor is supposedly based on real-world professor Danica McKellar, who is not only a mathematics writer, but also an actor appearing in shows such as How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, and even the Justice League cartoon. Hey, there's a connection between what I do and the DCAU. Maybe I can finally cross over with the Watchtower database. James? Well, I did have to do some digging to find this trivia myself. I should credit my sources. I got most of this information from the Big Time Rush fan wiki, specifically the blog Big Time Break. If you want to fact check me, feel free to do so in the comments below, and if it's a big enough slip up on my part, I'll try and have your comment penned, assuming I haven't already done that to someone else. Alright, another good episode under our belt, but I gotta say, for a music show, there really hasn't been a lot of music since episode 3. I wonder if next episode we might get some sort of demonstration? When the window blew
out, I fell, cut myself. As the blood spilled, I was helpless, nearly killed. Your actions, they did curse me, and yet your lies still hurt me. One heart for whole beings.